Well, before you encounter a probate sale of real estate here in San Diego, there's some important things you need to know. Today, we're joined by an expert in that field. Miguel Nunez is here from KW International. How you doing, buddy?
Very good, thank you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So, talk to me about this process, because I know you've got a history as a fiduciary in the construction business. You've kind of compiled all that stuff into being able to deliver value directly to people who are involved in probate sales. How does that all work, Miguel?
So let me just tell you a story to give you an example. There's a family who lives in Oceanside. Their father passed away last month, and the father had two homes on his name. One where the children were living with the family, and the other one was rental. All of a sudden, father dies, the dynamics of the family changes, and of course there's some economic issues, so they are forced to sell the homes. Well, they had no idea when they go and look at the documents. Well, the homes are in the name of the father, and they can't sell it. So they are forced to go and hire an attorney and file a probate action, meaning they have to go to the court. The attorney goes to the court, and Your Honor, this is the situation. The children want to sell these two homes, and it's on the dad's name.
So while we're on that topic real quick, is there a way to avoid that by having the homes in the trust?
Absolutely. I mean, estate planning is key here, and it's very simple. It's not very expensive, but sometimes it could be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and some families either don't want to talk about death, which is the number one situation, or don't want to spend that money, or they think they're going to avoid some issues with the kids, which it happens on the contrary.
Okay, so they don't have the trust in place, which means now the person who has all the decision-making power about these properties is gone.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have to go to the court and say, okay, hey, we want to do something here. Don't worry, we're the heirs. It's in his will or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they have to go to a judge. A judge has to say, I agree with you that you have the right to sell these properties. Is that basically what it is?
Absolutely. And again, I'm not an attorney, but even if there's a will, and that's what I've learned through all these years, even if there's a will, there could be multiple wills written in napkins all over the place, so everybody could create a will. So even if there's a will, the court has to be involved.
Right.
For the benefit of whoever really should be the beneficiaries. Maybe there's another child, or maybe there's another spouse, or maybe there's, who knows? And they'll start coming out of the woodwork when all of a sudden people say, oh, well, there's going to be a house. Wait a second, he promised me, he told me, the neighbor, I took care of him on his last days. Mm-hmm. It just becomes a really emotional process.
Yeah, I can understand that. Okay, so sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to get that point out there because I think that's a big one. We're always trying to learn here. We're trying to avoid things that, are uncomfortable, lengthy, costly. Probate is one of those things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so now it's too late. We're in the probate process, so continue with what's going on there.
So they go to the courts. There has to be a period, because now they have to put a publication out there to the public saying, hey, here's this estate. If anyone thinks they have a right to the estate, please let us know. So they have to put ads and have that time go through. In the meantime, that's where we get involved. As my experience as a private fiduciary for 10 years, I've managed these estates myself extensively, and I know from that experience that you should not wait for the courts to do their thing. There's a lot of work that can be done up front, such as the integrity of the house. Well, let's go and check it out. Is it in good shape? Is it in danger of people breaking in?
You don't want to leave food in the refrigerator for 6 months. You know what I mean?
You name it. Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So you need, the number one is to secure the property. We'll go in, we'll change locks, we'll take everything, with everything still inside, because whoever is going to potentially be the beneficiary, well, they have to come in and look inside these homes.
Yeah.
There are some interesting things that you find in these homes where you think it's all junk. Older people tend to forget. I start to forget stuff, and they'll start putting rolls of bills and coats, and they hide them, but then they forget where the things are at. So what appears to be junk may not necessarily be junk. So somebody responsibly has to go through everything to make sure that nothing is left behind of value, documents, you name it. There are companies that do that. There are trusted companies they're bonded and insured. They'll go through the whole thing, and they'll do an inventory, which is part of what the courts require. Well, what's in the house? Well, we went through this inventory. All the stuff in the garage is junk. All this stuff is stuff that looks valuable. We don't know. And then all of this is maybe memorabilia, that has sentimental value. So have the expertise in doing that. In the meantime, overseeing all of that, because as they uncover things, we need to, and as again, my background in construction management, I need to see if there's any leaks, water damage, mold, asbestos, all of that. So there's a lot of activity
Yeah,
going
because
on.
those things could also get worse over a 6-month time frame. So
Oh, yes.
you don't want the property to deteriorate and lose value while you're waiting for the court system. In fact, you should be using that time to help the property gain value. That's kind of what you're saying,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Use that time to your advantage, add value to the property. Don't let it deteriorate
Right.
during that time frame, because the courts are going to take a little while. What is the runtime right now in October of 2021 on that? Is it a year?
It could be a year. Now the courts are devising a new strategy where they were forced first they were closed down for obvious reasons for the pandemic. Then they started doing video, Zoom hearings, which there was a learning curve to that. But now the judges just had a presentation and said, look, guys, we can continue doing video. If you live north of, the courts are downtown. If you live north of 56 freeway or something like that, try to do it. Go to your attorney's offices.
Interesting. So they're actually, even though they don't need to do video now, they've adopted it and said, you know what, we can execute this way.
It's more convenient
Interesting.
for the courts.
It is.
For the families. They don't have to find parking downtown. They don't have to lose work. I mean, it's very interesting.
That is awesome
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see that something positive has come out of
Absolutely.
that whole process. That
Yeah.
the technology was forced adoption is
Yep.
what you would call that. Very, very cool. So what about when, let's say these two properties, we'll use the same example you're talking about now. What if they're not paid off and there's mortgages due? Do lenders come in and disrupt things? Or since there's been a death and they know the probate process is on, are they able to forbear or create some sort of, deferment for the families as they go through this process?
You could, but the key important position here is to communicate with everybody, okay, and say, okay, and that's basically done by the private fiduciary.
Okay.
That person contacts all the lenders, all the creditors, everybody saying, hey, I'm
But
representing.
if you don't have a professional fiduciary, then it would be who? The beneficiary would be the person?
Let's say in this case, the children could still make the payments. The bank doesn't care.
Right.
As long as the bank keeps receiving the money, they're not even going to know.
But if the
that-
children can't make the payments, I guess is what I'm saying. Hey, Dad had 2 properties. Oh my gosh! All of a sudden we have 2 mortgage payments to make. We don't know what's going on. The tenants, who knows what could happen, right? They may get wind of what's going on and say, "Well, hey,
Yeah.
your dad told us we could have free rent." I mean, who knows
Yeah.
what they
Oh,
might
yeah.
say,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So,
no
I guess I was just curious if that becomes a problem, or if the banks are for the most part understanding of those kinds of situations when someone passes and there's no trust in place and you have to kind of go through that probate process.
They are. So what we do, we ask either the beneficiaries or whoever's in charge in the process, because the court has to a point. Sometimes they'll choose, okay, which one of the 3 or 4 siblings is going to be in charge? Yeah, so, they all choose, okay, have him take care of it. So he will call the lenders and say, can our realtor talk to you? Because we have the situation. They have to send a letter in writing. We're authorized to talk and say, okay, here's the situation. We're fixing the house. We're doing this. We share our plans with the lender. And we tell them, please don't issue a notice of default if you can, because that's going to hurt the sale.
Yep.
But we are working diligently, and we're just subject to the courts. So we'll see what we can do. So
You just communicate with them,
absolutely.
and that's really where you're going to get your best
Yeah.
results.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the construction management side, because I know a lot of times these houses are paid off, or they may be in a situation where the beneficiaries want to maximize the sale, and typically that's going to require a home being cleaned, maybe remodeled a little bit or updated, if you will, new carpets, paint, cabinets, those kinds of things. Is this where you kind of insert your construction background and project management experience into the equation for people?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't act as a contractor. We always hire contractors, and sometimes we get 2 or 3 contractors to give estimates. But depends on if the estate has some funds, and the beneficiaries are okay in investing those funds to improve the condition of the house, then we do. Sometimes there isn't any money. Sometimes there's no money. And let's say a worst case scenario, you come into the house and it smells very bad, or there was a death in the property, and it just goes on from there. So that's something where we even sometimes say, well, we'll ask the contractor to come in and clean up. Sometimes it has to be hazmat to clean up and they'll get paid upon close of escrow. But we have to sanitize this house. It's for safety reasons.
Yeah.
And let's say that the carpet there's a huge ink stain in the center of the carpet. We'll still have it steam cleaned. The ink stain is going to remain there, but it's going to be, smell better. It's cleaned up. So we'll do, first safety issues, make sure that the basic systems are working, gas, water, sewage, that the systems are working. Then we go over to other senses,
Sanitation.
smell and
Yeah.
sanitation, and then if there's some money, then we'll do a fresh coat of paint is kind of the cheapest thing you can do to the house, or just minor stuff.
Yeah.
So again, it depends on if there's some money, how much would the contractors be willing to finance until the close of escrow.
And so if I'm one of those beneficiaries, I would come to you and I would say, okay, Miguel, I understand what you're saying. This is what would help sell the property for the highest price, but what is my return on investment? You would tell me, hey, here's what you would get if you sell it as is, but invest this and here's this, right? Something like that.
It's an interesting, right now, as we speak, the market has shifted. We are no longer just going up like crazy. It's, we're heading towards the holidays a little bit. The buyers are fatigued, so the market is softening down. Our recommendation in the past, with a very, very aggressive seller's market, we would just say, let's not do anything.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee that you'll get your return, but I can guarantee that we'll get multiple offers if we price it right. Pricing strategy is key here.
It really
You
is.
price it right, you generate multiple offers, then you just step back and have the buyers go at it. And then at the end of the day, you have buyers saying, Miguel, why, I can't believe that you have an offer over $900,000. The house is not worth it. And I'll say, I agree, but there's 3 other people behind you who want it at or higher than that price.
Yeah.
And that was happening, the last couple of years.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Well, this is great information, Miguel. Terrific that you have this expertise and all this experience to go help people through a difficult process, a trying time in their lives. We really appreciate you coming in and sharing your wisdom with us.
My pleasure.
Miguel
Thanks for having
Nunez
me.
from Keller Williams. Hey, share this with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone else. We'll see you guys soon.